30 years ago, I went to Seattle, well, to Redmond, to the Microsoft base there, and it was for a presentation of this. That's Chicago, the Microsoft's latest and greatest operating system. It was due to revolutionize Windows. Up until then, we've been using Windows 3.1. This was eventually going to be called, and you can see the update of the reviewer's guide here, Windows 95. But let me stick with Chicago. This was my first look at what Microsoft had been doing. I'd been using Windows 3.1 for some time and was reasonably happy with it. But Microsoft was, well, they'd got two strands of development. NT was supposedly for power business users, and Chicago is going to bring a new type of Windows to the desktop. So I found this the other day. I was browsing through some old cupboards and I thought, I wonder if, what I make of it now. I can't remember quite what I made of it then. It certainly seemed different and useful. I remember one of the things where a small contingent of British journalists went across, technical journalists went across to for a few days for this presentation in Seattle. And I remember the Microsoft team were wildly enthusiastic, and that's when I became aware of a slight difference in culture between American journalists and British journalists. Whenever Microsoft announced some exciting new feature, the American journalists would applaud and cheer, and the British journalists would sit there silently staring. And I remember a Microsoft developer, or possibly one of the PR people, came across to us and said, "Are you all right, chaps? What's the matter?" Couldn't see what the problem was. It's just the way we are. So anyway, let's see if I'm more enthusiastic now. Let's have a look at the Chicago product overview. What's supposedly great about this? Well, a summary of improvements, user interface, objectives. The overarching goal of the Chicago user interface is to make PCs even easier to use for all people. I remember they were very keen, Microsoft, on telling us all about the usability labs they had, where they'd get somebody who's never used a computer before and they'd sit them in front of a Chicago or Windows 95 computer and tell them to find a word processor or Notepad or WordPad or something and write a note. And apparently it was incredibly easy to do. Let's have a look. Yes, an easier model for file management and browsing. It says here, file management and browsing in Windows 3.1 was not intuitive. Fewer than 55% of general Windows users regularly use the file manager. And for novice users, the file manager is especially confusing and intimidating. And it goes through reasons of why this is. Dual pane views with a hierarchy on the left, contents on the right are intimidating. Novices have difficulty understanding the connection between the logical tree hierarchy on the left, this is in the Windows 3.1 file browser, and the contents pane on the right. I was just having a little look. This is Windows 3.1. You can see it running behind on this computer here. This is the file manager. So you've got the directories, the folders on the left, and files, programs on the right. And also you can have directory icons in the right. I can't really see why the file manager in Windows 95 and all the other versions of Windows that followed is more intuitive. Maybe I'm missing something there, but seems okay to me. Okay, so the other thing, name files. File names now in English. Name files in English with long. Oh, I see. File names can now be long. In Windows 3.1, they could be 8 characters followed by a dot, then a 3-character extension. Yeah, I mean, that was needed. I do think that was definitely an improvement. Various improvements to network neighborhood, better help system apparently. Let's have a look what else we've got here. Through this 300-page document, so I'm skipping through this. Support for MS-DOS based applications. So at the time of Windows 3.1, a lot of people were still running MS-DOS character screen applications from the prompt, and support for MS-DOS applications was considered quite important. There are many improvements in Chicago for running MS-DOS based applications of Windows 3.1. Each MS-DOS application has its own virtual machine. It has better access to memory, better protection, more robust. A shame that the support for MS-DOS hasn't been continued, because there are eccentric people like me who still quite like some MS-DOS applications. When I want to run them now, I have to run them in DOSBox, a separate tool, or if I can run it on my old MS-DOS computer over here. Let's have a look what other fabulous things are there. Oh, yes, one other thing worth mentioning is a lot of this goes on about the user interface and how wonderful the taskbar is. So you can minimize applications in Windows 95, or as we still do, to the taskbar and then pop them up. And yeah, I mean, okay, I can see the benefit of that. In Program Manager, you have these program groups with the applications to run. This is Windows 3.1. And so I start this up and I minimize it, and it goes down to an icon at the bottom rather than to a taskbar. And you know, you can, if I move this, you can overlap the icon, so it's hard to find, I suppose. I actually quite liked the Program Manager. The idea of having all the groups of related files together, your main group, accessories, this is small talk, applications, and so on. They got rid of all that and put everything in the start menu, which we use now. I quite like, in fact, if you look at this PC, this is running a modern version of Windows, and that application there that you see running is one that I wrote, and it gathers together groups of files and folders and programs, just as the Program Manager. I wrote that application myself because I still like that way of working. If you want to program it, by the way, I have a whole series on my channel. Go to my channel page on YouTube, showing how to write your own application launchpad. Right, so briefly, let's look at the File Manager. That's the File Manager. So those in Windows 3.1, the two core applications for launching and navigating programs, File Manager and Program Manager. Now, configuration in Windows 3.1, if you are old enough to remember that far back, when you wanted to configure programs, you had ini files, .ini, so there's win.ini, and there would be all sections in there, and it'd be a standard text file. And you go, if you wanted to, I don't know, change the color or some other element that you want to change, you just go and enter some text configuration in that file. And there's system.ini was another one. And if you wanted to run things when you load it up, you'd edit another text file called autoexec.bat, and so on. It lists some of these. And in the Chicago manual here, it says, the reviewer's manual, it says that ini files are essentially bad things, and they've decided to get rid of them. And information in ini files is non-hierarchical and only supports two levels of information. That is, key names broken up by section headings. And it goes on. I mean, ini files weren't great. I'd be the first to admit that. The solution to the Windows 3.1 .ini file problem: simplify the support burden, centralize configuration, provide local and remote access, and enter the registry. The registry is structured as a hierarchical database of keys, where each key can contain a value or even contain other keys as subkeys. It sounds like, and there's a nice little picture, I don't know if you can see this, nice little screenshot showing the registry. It looks like a nice, small, simple tool. As we know, it didn't stay that way. The registry, if you've ever had any dealings with the registry, in all probability on your PC, is huge with vast numbers of different entries, and it can be very difficult to sort out configuration problems, to find and fix any configuration problems using the registry in a way that with win.ini, a simple text file, it was much easier. In addition, Windows, the modern Windows 10, Windows 11 and so on, they scatter other configuration details. They have local configuration files, they can store configuration and data in various different special directories. Finding information, configuration information on modern versions of Windows is, I think, much harder than on Windows 3.1. So is Windows 3.1 as hopeless as this makes it sound, and is Chicago or Windows 95 as great as this makes it sound? Well, there's no doubt that Windows 3.1 had its day. Its memory limits were, I think, 640k. I think it might have been able to extend to 1 megabyte in some strange way. It couldn't really support the sort of application. I mean, there'd be no way that it could support the sort of applications we expect to run today. As for the user interface, Taskbar, I think, is a perfectly good addition. I quite like the program manager. I wish they hadn't quite thrown it out so completely. Support for older programs I kind of miss, though I can accept that's a kind of a specialist thing. I just like running MS-DOS programs. So on the whole, Chicago set the style of Windows that we're using to this day. Of course, there have been huge numbers of technical changes and some changes to the user interface, not all, I think, for the better. But fundamentally, the taskbar, the start menu, etc., it was all there 30 years ago. So I guess Microsoft got it, more or less right. Okay, anyway, that's enough for now. I'll be back with something else shortly. See you again soon.